Hi guys, and welcome to a build video. Today we are on the Mesmer for a reflection build. This build is similar to ones that you've probably seen on intothemists.com if you guys use that, or have seen other people using. I just changed a little bit of it around to fit the new abilities that have come out, as well as to fit my playstyle a little bit better. Basically, the spec is 4 into domination, 4 into dueling, and 4 into inspiration. I mean 6 into inspiration. You want to trait 3 in domination and trait 10. In dueling you want to trait 2 and trait 4. In inspiration you want to trait 2, trait 9, and trait 8. Now, the reason for this particular setup goes into
I'm willing to go.
the way the build runs. Sorry, I'm trying to find a place where people aren't talking.
We're strong in the dark, and you know it. We're both of the cycle of night.
I know.
Okay, a little bit quieter down here. Basically, when you're running this spec, since you have a certain heal skill, it is very important to keep illusions out. So having them deal a little bit more damage when they're not dealing the damage that the ability gives them helps a lot. Helps just a little bit with the damage output, not much, I will grant you, because it changes them from like 0 to 1 damage to 5 to 7 damage, and the 7 is the crit. So it's not that much of a boost, but it helps with that, as well as just basically the damage that they deal here, I believe. Yeah. The Greatsword training increases your power. If you come here and look at our stats, if I didn't have that, my attack power would not be 2.4k, it would be much lower. Let's turn that trait off and see. You're gonna change it just to a random trait. Come down here and see I'm now 2.389, but the little boost it gives to the power is well worth it. At least when you're using the Greatsword. Now in dueling, we have Phantasms have Fury, which just means that their chance to crit is increased, which is nice because that means you're doing more of the 7 damage than the 5 damage. As well as when you're just using, say, your 4 skill on your Greatsword and your 5 skill on your focus.
If you're going beyond the grove tonight, be careful.
Now the 4 in dueling is Blade Training. Increase precision while wielding a one-hand sword or spear. Reduces recharge on sword and spear skills. What does this mean? This means when you go here in your equipment, your crit chance is 58% base now, well, with all your gear and that. But if you switch back to your greatsword, it's now 48, so it's a difference of a good 10%. And you want to get as close as possible to 100%. I would say somewhere in the 60-ish range for when you're in dungeons, in case you have a warrior, just to give you that extra boost to get near 100%. Now we're into inspiration. This is where I differ in my choices of traits compared to other sites and other builds. I go with both the glamour skill masteries, which is 2 and 4. No, sorry, 9. 2 and 9. Basically, what does this mean? It reduces the recharge on my glamour skills, and the glamour skills last longer. What does this mean? It means that here, Nullfield has a longer duration and will cool down faster. Same with my feedback. And since we are playing a tune who focuses on reflection, it is really nice just to have that feedback back up quickly and lasting longer. Now, it isn't much of a difference, because it was... wrong one. because if I say change this from the duration, it's now down to 6 seconds instead of the
Its flowers spiral open.
I've seen them.
8 that
They
it was
have
at,
great
so it's a
wisdom.
2-second difference. But it does add when you're using the Phantasmal Warden. The last skill is Warden's Feedback. This means focus skills reflect projectiles and reduces the recharge of your focus skills. This is nice because that means that both your Temporal Curtain, which also gives swiftness and cripples enemies, will now reflect projectiles. And same with
I met
your
one
Phantasmal
outside
Warden.
Lion's Arch. That
It now
city holds
reflects
many
projectiles.
dangers.
You met someone from the Nightmare Court? And you survived?
I did. Others didn't.
Back here with the gear.
What are they like?
Give me a second.
Members of the Nightmare Court are cruel. They're capable of terrible evil. When you're near them, you feel nothing from them but cold emptiness.
With the gear,
When
you're
the
gonna want to
Nightmare
go.
Court was stalking us. It was the darkest night I've ever known.
You must have been terrified.
You're gonna want to go full Zerker, and I do mean full Zerker, which means everything you have is power, precision, ferocity. Now, I don't go with assassins because of what the trait that we spec'd into does with the sword and the focus. The one-hand sword increasing it to 58% already without anything added on. Just means that we're a little bit less precision, which means we have a little bit less crit chance. But when you're playing it with the sword and the focus in a dungeon and you have a warrior drop a banner and someone else drops another buff, it puts you right fairly close to 100. So it's not necessary to go with Assassin's gear. The runes that I go with here are Runes of the Scholar, up to 5, and then I have one Superior Rune of Balefire, just for the extra power. Now, you can go with any rune that either gives plus 25 power, plus 25 precision, or plus 25 ferocity. As you can see, I carry around one that gives plus 25 ferocity, but I would rather have one, say, that gave plus 25 precision, just in case I need that extra boost. So ferocity is actually the last one that you want to go for. I would go precision or power over the ferocity. For weapons, you also want them to be Zerker. My Sunrise is Zerker, my Focus is Zerker, and same with my sword. On the sword, I would suggest having a Superior Sigil of Bloodlust. You can go with a sigil that gives precision over the power if you're feeling you're lacking the precision, but I just choose to go with the power for the raw damage output. On my focus, I have Superior Sigil of Accuracy, which is 7% more critical chance, which also adds to this here. So if I say remove this, it dropped down by 10, of course, because I also removed the focus, and the focus obviously has 64 precision. But you see that it just adds to your crit chance. Now for Sunrise, I have, of course, the Superior Sigil of Bloodlust on there, just so that when I switch weapons I keep my stacks of Bloodlust. And I have the Superior Sigil of Strength. Now this is just personal choice with this. You don't need to go with a Sigil of Strength. The Sigil of Strength is what is needed to craft the Sunrise, and I just enjoy watching the stacks go up and up and up of might as I play, because if you look at the Greatsword, your Greatsword 2 skill also gives you 3 stacks of might. Which just means every 10 seconds or so you're gaining might, and you get your skill 2 out and you have an extra 3 stacks, so you're up to 4 stacks of might, then 8, then so on and so forth. You can get pretty high. I think the highest I've been on this tune is 20 stacks, so it's pretty nice. For accessories, back pieces, rings, so on and so forth, you also want ferocity. I actually for once have Zerker. I actually for once have all Zerker on this tune. There is nothing that is vitality based. He is pure Zerker. Now on to skills. My heal skill, as you can see, is Signet of the Ether. Gain health every few seconds based on the number of active illusions you control. Since we're not running a Shatterer build, you want to keep your illusions out anyways, because they do have a chance to repeat the damage that they dealt, even if you're on cooldown for every single one that you get. But keep in mind you can only have 3 illusions active at once. Now this includes clones and phantasms, so basically anything that you pull out that makes a duplicate of your tune is an illusion. But the real reason we have the Signet of Ether is the Signet active skill that comes with it. Heal yourself and refresh all phantasm skill recharges. This is nice, because the skill 4 on your greatsword is a phantasm skill, and more importantly, the skill 5 on your sword and focus is a phantasm skill. So when you get down to the rotation, it means you can drop a feedback, wait for the feedback to go away, drop this, wait for the warden to stop spinning, pop this, drop another warden, and you can keep the reflex up. I doubt I'm going to be able to show you guys how to do it because of how long enemies last, but there are times when I was in a dungeon where we had almost constant reflection because I had set it up for the cooldowns and the durations just right to keep people from taking the damage from projectiles. However, you will have a small time where you won't be able to get anything up because then your phantasm's on, your skill 5's on cooldown, and then this has a little bit left, so you can take a increase of damage there.
I know the Heilig have
It isn't a very long time period because this normally has like 5 seconds left on it for the cooldown, and then you can pop it. But it can happen. The next one is Blink. Why Blink? Well, personally speaking, Blink is nice to be able to keep up when you're running, and as you could tell, I didn't go with any runes that increased the duration of speed because I wanted max damage. So Blink helps me run in the dungeons, but it also breaks stun, which I can't stress how important that is, especially when you're running your sword and focus combo. Because if you're up close to them and you end up being stunned, then you can just port behind them and you're no longer stunned and you can continually do damage. Null Field is a great spell, especially since a lot of people, when you are trading, instead of going for, say, 2 or 9, they go with Minder's Purity, which is the skill 4. Remove a condition when you heal. This skill is great and everything, but when I was running with it, I didn't notice a difference because with Null Field and the decreased cooldown on Null Field and the fact that it lasts longer, I could get rid of all those conditions while ripping boons from enemies, and it really helped keep me alive. But if you're also running just the sword and the focus while you're being...
I dare you. Hit me.
While conditions are being placed on you, your sword will remove conditions. Stab your foe and rip a boon off of them. Does additional damage to target with no boons. Okay, sorry. It doesn't remove conditions, but it also... It does at least do that. I guess what I should say was while you're running your sword, you also have this ability here which allows you to evade, which means that you don't get the conditions placed on you as often. That's what I should have said. Sorry about that. The last one for utility is your feedback, which obviously you need if you're running your reflection build, because why not make use of every single thing that can reflect while you can. However, there is another skill that does reflections. It's not a glamour skill, it is actually a clone. It's called Mimic. Absorb a projectile attack to be reflected at a foe. This one's extraordinarily hard to land, and it's not as good at dealing damage as the feedback is. So I would just suggest going with feedback. You can replace Null Field with Mimic, or you can replace Null Field with... Where's that Signet? Signet of Illusions, just for the passive skill, grants more health to your illusions. This will allow them to last longer, and I guess it would come in handy with this, because it will repeat its spinning move to reflect projectiles, but it isn't as good as the Null Field in my opinion. Granted, that's personal opinion there. The last skill is the Elite. I run with Time Warp. This basically just means that me and my team have higher levels of damage that we can deal, and allows for us to get down the mob or the boss faster. It's even really good just out in the world.
I heard. I plan to go in search of it tomorrow.
I cannot even look at her in my current
Now onto foods.
friend, you couldn't help
And
but
yeah,
happen.
I actually use foods on this dude.
It doesn't matter.
What I suggest using
And therefore, I am on
are
board your love.
plates of truffle steak, which gives you 100 power and plus 70 precision. You activate that, and you can see that obviously this went up by 100 for that, but it's more noticeable on the greatsword because I pointed it out. So we're up another 100 in power.
How could I forget?
Now, this is personal choice here. You can either go for toxic sharpening stones for more power, or you can go with toxic maintenance oils for more precision. What I would personally do is go
But you lost to him.
with this one if you don't have as good of a team set up. Say if you don't have a warrior or another team that's constantly giving you more crit chance, go with this because it increases it by 4 to 5%, no matter which one you're running. Whereas this just grants you more power. Plus this is like 1 silver cheaper on the market than the toxic sharpening stones are. They're both expensive. Same with the plates of truffle steak. But the boost that it gives you is well worth it. You can also run with the dungeon boosters that you get. You can do this if you feel like you would rather have the minus 10% damage from most of the mobs there, and the plus 10% damage to most of the mobs there. There are certain dungeons that this doesn't work for, however. That is it for the basic build, besides your underwater weapons, which I don't have anything added on to my underwater weapons at the moment for this tune, but what I would suggest going with is basically what you have the combo here, obviously both of them being Zerker, and then get the Sigil of Bloodlust and the Superior Sigil of Accuracy on both. My reason for not having stuff on there is just really stupid. Because I forgot. Let's put it that way. I'll meet you guys when I find a place to show you this build. Okay, we're here at the Temple of Lessa. Mainly because, while a lot of people do mine this, sparks are great to show what feedback can do.
Replenishing.
If I can find any veterans, I will show you. So we might be here for a little bit. Ah, there's one. Basically what you want to do is, as you run in, other than getting in combat with the spark, then hit your feedback, 2, 4, switch to your sword, hit 3, jump in there, 2, 5, wait for 2 to recharge, and by the time 2 is recharged, you should be activating your skill 5 again. You don't really need to waste it on this thing here because it's not going to deal a lot of damage. That is the basic rotation there. Except for you, once this thing stops spinning, hit 6 and then hit 5 again. I had a short break there, sorry about that. I will show you the build one more time. I mean, the rotation one more time. After this spark is dead. We're gonna have to kill this spark up ahead. Another thing about the greatsword, it's just good for AoE damage too. Now, when you have things on cooldown, engage, still hit 2,
Ready for more.
9, which is my feedback. Moving close. I activated 5 a little bit early because I knew that the feedback was almost down. And just keep up damage. Okay, as you can see, I did have a chance to show you more on that with the skill
My pain is easy.
6, but I didn't because it was nearly dead. Now that is not all for the build video. I'm gonna go one more place to show you the underwater rotation. And while I don't say have anything on my underwater weapons to help with damage, it is still kind of good to show you guys the underwater rotation. Just because so many people never go underwater and don't know how to do their underwater rotation. And I find it something useful to learn. So I'll be right back. Okay, I am insane. I decided to come all the way out here to Frostgorge Sound. And I will... Mainly because it's a good place for underwater combat when you're level 80. When you're starting out with this, hit your skill 1.
Ready for more.
Bind it with 5. 3 to get a clone out. 4 and 2.
My pain.
Then switch to this for diving down for your more massive damage. Now, you can see we're on cooldown. We can either continue forward and look for more stuff to kill, or we can wait for it to switch back to this to engage from distance. Now we're gonna go back because you didn't see the spear. Hit 2. Hit 5. And 3. Your two main damage dealers are 2 and 5. And 1 for this, whereas this one's good for crowd control and dealing condition damage as well as getting boons. The skills that you want to use underwater are slightly different. You can still have your feedback, but Null Field is no longer usable, and same with Blink. So for the condition remover, I use Arcane Thievery, which send 3 conditions you have to your foe and steal 3 of their boons. And I kind of just use this one to cure conditions, maybe. I was just testing that. But you can also use this just to grant you random boons, which is Signet of Inspiration, or really anything. You can use Mirror Image to get more clones out and hopefully deal a little bit more damage to protect yourself. It just depends for underwater combat on your style of how you like to play. Thank you for watching. This is Flamewing80, signing out.
There.